All right, y'all. So we're going to pick up from where this left off. I told you guys I was going to do the full-length video, and here we go. So, Roy Jones and Antonio Tarver. Now, let's look at this situation. Roy Jones, for one, is a fucking liar. Let me explain how he's a liar, okay? Roy Jones fixed something in his mind, and even though he knows it's inaccurate, he doesn't correct it. Example, Roy Jones tell you he lost 25 pounds of muscle. 25 pounds meaning what? He was coming from 175, right? Which means for him to add 25 pounds of muscle, that means he was 205 pounds come fight night. You understand what I'm saying? Okay? So, he wasn't 205 pounds. He wasn't 200 pounds. He wasn't 199 pounds. Roy Jones confirmed, and Jim Lampley confirmed it. They all said it. He was 193 pounds. 193. He wasn't 199. Roy Jones confirmed it. So from 193, from 175 to 193, that's 18 pounds. So you keep telling he lost 25 pounds of muscle. No, you lost 18 pounds, okay? 18 pounds of muscle. But bottom line, you keep telling everybody 25, 25. You keep saying it. Okay. The bottom line is he got his ass whooped. First fight, I believe it affected him. The second fight, he just got knocked the fuck out. It's as simple as that. He got knocked out by Glenn Johnson. Then he got, outboxed and beat up. Pretty much got beat by Tarver in the third fight. Let me say this. Roy Jones made several excuses throughout the years. But see, you remember how you say in the match, right? In the boxing fight that the judges mostly remember the later rounds more so than the earlier rounds, which basically that's why you keep score. So they ain't got shit to do with it. Keep score. That's why you keep score. Okay, so you ain't sitting there going off memory alone. You keep the score. End of the round, okay, I get it to Tarver. End of the round, okay, I get it to Roy. End of the round, get it to Tarver. There ain't no such thing, man. Like that's what professionals do, right? You keep score. Okay, so anyways, Roy Jones keep telling y'all that he was depleted. That was the end of him after losing 25 pounds of muscle. Make this make sense, y'all. So Roy Jones, now hold before I say that, Antonio Tarver was accused of the same thing. That he went up to like 216 pounds for the Rocky movie, then him losing all that weight and coming down to 175, it drained him. Now, yeah, it smacked Antonio in the face because when it happened to Roy Jones, he was denying, saying, he was basically saying, oh man, everybody like Roy Jones, the only person that ever had to lose weight and this and that and whatever. But then for him to make the same excuse, it made Antonio Tarver look stupid. Yeah. So now I got to sympathize with Roy Jones because, damn, I said the same thing. Now people looking at me like, yo, but you a hypocrite because when it happened to Roy, you had all this to say. So now all of a sudden you're sympathetic with Roy, right? Okay. Now let's put that out there. But here's what I'm saying. First off, you see how when fighters get older and they learn a different technique, different style of fighting, this is what made Floyd so effective because Pretty Boy Floyd threw more combination punches, but was still defensive, but was more relentless with his attack, right? Pretty Boy Floyd was like, I'm focusing more on pinpoint accuracy and making you miss and making you pay and make you look stupid. And he perfected both styles. Roy Jones was 36 years old, right? And we're talking about in the rematch. He's 36 years old. He's the same age as Tarver, is my point. Tarver's 36. Roy Jones, Tarver had like 20-something, 23 fights total, maybe 25 fights total, something like that. Or 23, no, I think he had 20-something. I know he had less than 25 fights overall. So he had less than half of the fights that Roy had. Where was Roy Jones' experience? where, okay, I know a different way to beat you. I don't have to depend on, just my athleticism and all. That's what Roy is talking to, what Floyd is talking about when he says once Roy lost his legs, right? But Roy's legs wasn't completely lost. If you look at it, Roy was able to get around and move, not dance because Roy never danced the way Ali did. He just used his legs to get around quicker. I've seen him have different fights where he still had the leg speed, the foot speed to get around. Roy can't take a fucking punch. It's as simple as that. For him to sit here and tell you, yo, Antonio Tarver, you see the video that he got recently? Tarver tell you the truth. They tell you they beat a depleted Roy Jones. Oh, I lost 25 pounds of muscle, and that was the end of Roy Jones because, I lost 25. Oh, wait. So you telling me your ego is so massive that you think that Antonio Tarver is supposed to sit here and say, well, the truth is, y'all, I beat a depleted Roy Jones. If he was in his prime, I wouldn't have had a chance. Is that what you think Tarver's supposed to say? Now, the one thing I did hear Tarver say, and he's being interviewed, and he said that when they were supposed to fight initially, he don't know that if he was ready overall skill-wise for Roy Jones at that point, but he wanted to fight regardless, but he might not have been ready then. But when he did fight Roy, by the time he definitely was ready. They're the same fucking age. Okay, the same age. So we can't pull that, now here's the funny thing. How is it, let's say, like, Canelo was a baby at 23 with 42 fucking professional fights. Right? Or 44. Was it? Yeah, 44 fights when he fought Floyd or something like that. And it was at 46 or something like that. But yet, Roy Jones got 47 fights in the bag, and somehow Antonio Tarver got 20-something fights, and let's overlook Antonio Tarver's age. But Roy had more wear and tear. I mean, y'all make so many excuses for this guy, man. Here's what I'm saying. If Tarver would have been 23, that's what everybody would have said. Oh, man, it's a young man's sport. Roy was old. Same fucking age as Tarver. And here's what Roy said that even furthers my point. I already know what the fuck I said. I'm not saying anything out of any malice for Roy. I'm just speaking what's real. And I don't give a fuck about hurting feelings because I'm going to say what's real. Roy Jones said, Antonio Tarver talking all that about beating me, all he did was beat a depleted Roy Jones. His whole career is all he did. It's the best thing he did. He ain't did it in his whole career. That's what he said about Tarver. That was Roy Jones' recent comments about Tarver, that the best thing that he did was beat Roy. I told you guys this shit a couple years ago. If Roy Jones never fights Antonio Tarver, nobody knows anything about Tarver, really. Tarver would be who? Who? That's the only reason that he gets any type of recognition. Nobody's talking about him versus Eric Harding, anybody else. In fact, they don't even bring up the fact that he fought against Bernard Hopkins. They don't even bring up the fact that he lost his very first title defense against Glenn Johnson. But what sealed the deal for him and Roy is because they fought again, and he beats Roy again. So not only does he knock him out, but he outboxes Roy Jones, okay, and dominates. So the thing about it was Roy Jones saying that, I tell you, the only two fucking fights Roy talked about his whole fucking career is beating James Toney and the accomplishment of going up to heavyweight, winning the title. Not the opponent in John Ruiz. John Ruiz wasn't shit. Roy took a challenge. What worked against Roy is the fact, okay, you fighting a heavyweight, it's possible this dude will knock you out because you're not okay, Chris Bird was a light heavyweight that went up and fought a heavyweight. And as soon as Chris Bird lost his legs and he couldn't move like he used to, yeah, you see what happened, right? And when he stepped up against certain guys like like Ike Ibeabuchi, for example, right? People had the nerve to think Chris Bird was going to win. I'm like, I don't see how the fuck he going to win. Yeah, I don't see how. Because Ike Ibeabuchi going to kill this dude, man. And that's exactly what happened. He punished him. Now, Roy Jones, he basically said out of his own mouth, okay, out of his own mouth, Tarver did nothing. The best thing he did was beat a depleted Roy. Remember before, I forgot who the fuck Roy Jones had fought. And remember Bernard Hopkins was calling him out. And the interviewer said to Roy, Bernard Hopkins probably doesn't think much about your opponent. He said he ain't got to. He said, I don't think much about his opponent. He said, who he fought? He ain't did that. The only person he beat was Trinidad. His whole career, he beat nobody but Trinidad. Remember he said that? That came out of Roy's mouth. But here's the funny part. Roy says when he fought Bernard the first time, he hurt his hand. And he fought with one hand. That's what Roy told us. So basically, I'm so much better than Bernard that this motherfucker, I beat him with one hand. Okay. He never talks about Bernard Hopkins. Second fight, Bernard is 4 years older than him. Bernard beat him in the second fight. Okay. Roy Jones only talks about beating James Toney. He only talks about the accomplishment of winning a world championship. They talk about how fast he was and how it, right, but all that, but it's not the opponents. Okay. When he sit here and say, Floyd ain't fight nobody that was in his prime. Okay, first of all, hold up. Tarver was trying to fight you for years and you didn't fight him. I remember he fought Eric Hardin. Eric Hardin broke Tarver's jaw. He won the fight. The rematch, he won. Roy Jones beat Eric Hardin when he fought, but bottom line, it's like if you watch these fights, you see the difference in skill levels where athleticism versus being athletic plus having the fundamentals, of working off the jab and knowing the footwork, like all of this shit, defense. You could see where Roy Jones fighting guys that's tall and lanky, like Eric Hardin, but guys that don't really know how to use their jab, don't know how to use their physical gifts. What looks impressive to the eye of the people is when you look at the height and reach difference and go, yeah, but Roy is doing this right because this dude is not using his shit. So now when he gets in there with Tarver, why was it any different? You didn't want to fight Tarver. I got the clip. When Andre Ward was telling us how he was there. I remember that press conference. I remember that little conference when Tarver came in there and was talking shit to Roy. How you've been ducking me all this time, and Roy, I'm gonna whoop you. Oh, I'm gonna whoop you and all that. And Andre said he was like, yo, no, like because he knew the danger of coming down and all this shit. Yeah. But why? When is Ward ever been afraid for Floyd or anybody else? Why was he so afraid for Roy? And like I said, he did not lose 25 pounds of muscle. He lost 18 because he came in at 193 pounds. That motherfucker was not 205 pounds. He was not 199 like they said. He was 193. And I remember the before the fight started, and people was talking and giving their opinions. They was like, "Man, this guy is too small. He's just way too small." Okay, so he came from 193 back to 175. Okay, 193. And here's the thing, right? Regardless, he make all these excuses about how it was because he lost the muscle. Does losing 25 pounds of muscle affect your boxing IQ? Does losing 25 pounds of muscle causes you to just lose your boxing skill? You somehow don't know how to box anymore? Remember when he beat Felix Trinidad? He said, I told you I ain't went nowhere. He just had a couple of bad nights, basically. Well, I told you I ain't went. Remember he said that after he beat Trinidad, right? And remember when he got in there and when he fought against Joe Calzaghe? And he dropped Joe, I think the first round. And he did a little cocky walk back to the corner. Remember that shit, right? And remember after Joe got up, Joe got to the point where he was embarrassing Roy. Joe was literally putting his hands down in front of him, leaning, putting his face on Roy's gloves. And Roy was just standing there covering up. And remember when Roy Jones was in the corner and Al Murkison was giving him instructions? I'm trying, I can't get him, I'm trying. Remember that? Okay. Now this was the very next fight after he claimed, I told y'all I ain't went nowhere, right? Roy Jones said he lost the fight to Tarver, the third one, on purpose. This isn't Aries telling you this. This is Roy Jones telling y'all this shit. Yeah, remember that. His story was being the kind of relationship he had with his father and how they separated and they just didn't get along. Him losing to Tarver and then losing to Glenn Johnson, he didn't want to give his dad the credit. He didn't want his dad to take the credit for him losing. That's what Roy Jones said. I mean, he didn't want his father to take credit for him winning. That's what he said. Roy Jones told y'all that. Yeah, he told us all that bullshit. And so basically you lost on purpose. He didn't put the effort out like he wanted to. He just wanted to go in there and show that he still could compete. That's what Roy Jones told, and y'all believe that bullshit, right? See, y'all forget these things through time, don't y'all? Now, Roy said that, but here go the funny thing. Even in Roy Jones saying that shit, right? Let's look at the truth. You really think that Roy Jones put himself through a training camp to come in there just to do that? And if you remember before that fight, Roy Jones was saying in the interview, he was saying, this is the trilogy. And everybody know whoever won the trilogy is the best. You know what I'm saying? Remember all that shit? Okay. So he did all of that just to go in there and half-ass fight? Just to slap his shoes, let shake his head side to side, stick his tongue out. That's what he went in there to do? But lose on purpose? So his dad don't take the credit? Y'all believe that shit. Okay. Roy Jones, why'd you fight? I don't give a fuck about your bullshit excuse about, oh, that was my friend and he asked me for the fight to make him make some money. Why'd you fight Mike McCallum when he was 39? Why you didn't fight Mike McCallum when he was younger? I mean, you fought James Toney, right? They fought each other. Why didn't you fight Mike McCallum? Why you never fought Julian Jackson? Why didn't you fight Chris Eubanks? Why didn't you fight Nigel Benton? Why didn't you fight Joe McClellan? Why didn't you fight Steve Collins? Why did you wait so long to finally fight Joe Calzaghe? Why didn't you fight Mikushevsky? Because these are all the motherfuckers that was available to you then. And if you had them names on your fucking resume, you understand what I'm saying? You have a very strong case. The eye test we see with you was like, yeah, Roy was a bad motherfucker. But just to assume who you can beat, it's not how we do it, Roy. Mike was 39 when you fought him. I mean, come on, you fought Eric Harding, but you didn't fight motherfucking. Look, here go the funny thing. Here go the funny thing. At the end of the third Tarver fight, Roy Jones was asked by Larry Merchant, what was it about Tarver's style that, gives him problems or whatever. Roy Jones basically summed it up and he said he would have always had problems with Tarver because he's tall. He's a southpaw, he's tall. That's what he said. That's what Roy said. Now, Roy says that, but like I said, through time, people forget what was said. So he ends up turning around now saying that Tarver only beat him because he beat a depleted Roy Jones. And then said Tarver, that's the only thing he did his whole career was beat a depleted Roy Jones. So by Roy Jones' own admission, by his own logic, that means Tarver wasn't all that. He just was but he was better than you. That means Bernard Hopkins wasn't all of that because you beat him with one hand. And he ain't beat nobody but Trinidad. Okay? I mean, Kelly Pavliks of the world, certain people. And like with Tarver, the thing about him winning was like it was more impressive age-wise. I never thought much of Kelly Pavlik anyway. But bottom line, shit like that when he was able to beat certain guys, the whole thing about that was this. For Roy Jones to try to shit on Hopkins, to try to shit on Tarver, right? And only bring up James Toney. Like he said, if he wanted to beat a guy, he said, what'd he say? He said, if for him to beat, he ain't gonna wait for somebody to beat James Toney. He beat James Toney in his prime. According to James Toney didn't train for Roy Jones, right? Which is a James Toney problem. But according to him, he couldn't make the weight no more. We know James Toney was lazy. But wait, for him to sit here and say Antonio Tarver beat a washed-up version of him, a depleted version of him, well, why didn't you fight Antonio Tarver when he first wanted to fight you? You are the reason that fight didn't happen. Tarver wanted to fight. You didn't want to fight for whatever reason. And after the third fight, for you to say, well, I would have always had problems with Tarver because he's southpaw and he's tall. Maybe that's why you didn't want to fight him. And when Larry Merchant says, that's why Roy Jones fought so cautiously his whole career, because he can't take a punch. Yeah, you want to blame all that on that. Yeah, we seen John Ruiz. He caught you with a couple of little slap punches. He ain't caught you with nothing big. That think the first or the second round, he caught you with a I think it was an overhand right, kind of made Roy do that little wobble, and then Roy kind of stood there and, they kind of, threw a couple of punches back and forth and held and all that. And just like in that fight, like Larry Merchant was saying, this is why Roy Jones chose John Ruiz. Because John Ruiz, this is who he is. He doesn't fight like a big man. And I always said, John Ruiz fights like he don't remember he's a heavyweight. When he went there and fought Evander Holyfield, remember, they fought 3 times. Now, this is when Holyfield pretty much was over the hill. And my thing was, I watched how David Tua dismantled this dude. I got a history with John Ruiz. I know John Ruiz is trash, man. It's like I said, he's trash. And Roy Jones, he knew that. And he just happened to be holding. Remember, him and Holyfield fought for a vacant belt. That's how Ruiz got it. Okay? That was kind of like Berman Stavern and what's the Jamaican cat? Trevor Bryant. That's how Trevor Bryant got it, because they just happened to just eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and pick 2 fucking bum, scrub, washed up fucking fighters. That's what that was. Okay, that's how John Ruiz got the belt. So for anybody that don't know, don't go thinking that John Ruiz went there and beat some solid motherfucker. The thing was, Holyfield had respect on his name. I know that Holyfield wound up getting 2 shoulder surgeries or something like that. So, because Holyfield wound up coming back on a winning streak and was looking like, okay, damn, this dude putting punches together now. We saying Holyfield starting to kind of somewhat look like the old Holyfield, But yeah, Holyfield, that's how Ruiz got the belt. Okay? It's not like Roy Jones went there and fought Chris Berg or Lennox Lewis. And they had the other 2 belts. Imagine Roy Jones beating Ike Ibeabuchi. Man, that motherfucker would have knocked Roy Jones' head off, man. Imagine Roy Jones beating David Tua, Lennox Lewis, Riddick. But imagine Andrew Alata. Imagine that. And let's be real, right? The fact is this. Roy Jones don't want nobody to say that somebody was greater than him. That shit bothers him. This era is all about highlight reels. So yeah, we can watch highlights of people and they can look like, we can see them do some things. And you can say, hey man, that dude was this, he was that. But the thing is with Roy Jones, when you look at who he's fighting, when you look at who he's doing these things against, that's when it's like, oh, okay. But this generation don't care, because this generation is all about stats. Like, for example, when people talk about Angel Reese. Now, I don't know these people personally to dislike them or like them. It's not what it's about. But when they say things like, when they try to big up her game and say, she be getting double-doubles, though. And it's crazy because every time I watch and she gets a double-double, her team loses. So if it's all about stats, you just worry about numbers. That's like saying the Golden State Warriors, they beat the Bulls record because they went 73-9, right? The Bulls went 72-10. You know what the difference is in that? The Bulls went 72-10 and won a championship. The Warriors went 73-9 and lost. They didn't get a championship. So who would you rather be? So all this stats. And that's what I'm saying. They'll go back and look at a Roy Jones highlight reel and go, he was this, or they watched the Richard Hall fight. Yeah, who the fuck was Richard Hall? This is my point. Pacquiao beat Chris Algieri. So we can sit here and look and go, look how tall he was. Look at the reach. Okay, but who the fuck was Chris Algieri? Fighter, no power. And so what I mean? Chris Algieri, come on, man. Okay, let's look at Chris Algieri versus Pacquiao. Now let's look at Chris Algieri versus Sean Porter. Let's look at Chris Algieri versus Errol Spence. Like, you understand what I'm saying? I mean, let's look at him versus Errol Spence. This is what I'm talking about. Let's not play stupid, man. This is my point. Roy Jones was shorter than certain guys. Yeah. So was Floyd. So was Pacquiao. So was Ray Leonard. So what? But this is my point, is he fought these guys that was there. And Roy Jones out of his own mouth said, it don't matter, I can fight anything. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, y'all know what that meant? It don't matter who I fight. the outcome is going to be the same. I'm going to come in here. They feel it. Okay, cool. They respect me for that. Now I'm going to sit here and showboat and all that. And hey, if I don't get the knockout, I'll just do this all night long. But if I get the knockout, cool. Then I got the knockout. That's why he said I could fight anything. That's his whole point. He didn't care. So when he's sitting here telling y'all shit like they paid this guy to go fight in Times Square, you know what I'm saying? If they're gonna bring me to Times Square, I'm gonna have to give a Times Square performance. But it's like, Roy Jones, who the fuck did you do this against? This is what people are overlooking. Who you did this against, man? Stop. You're not if any of those guys, the names that I said, you fought them and did the same things. And one bottom line, if you beat those guys, if you even fought them, win, lose, or draw, the fact is, we can look at your career and say Roy didn't duck nobody. He fought anybody. You say you didn't duck nobody, but who the fuck did you fight? So even when somebody say Roy fought everybody, who? Who's everybody? That's why I said when you go look at the resume and look at who was there. Look, let me tell y'all something, man. For James Toney to fight him and lose, for him to go up, fight John Ruiz and beat this big bum, that's the biggest things on his career, on his resume. Virgil Hill wasn't nothing special. He just happened to fight Thomas Hearns 2 times. That's all. Virgil Hill wasn't special about no fucking Virgil Hill. And, remember, one thing about Thomas Hearns, he came out, his fight went from 147, went all the way up, wound up going up all the cruiserweight throughout his career. We look at fighters' whole career anyway. We don't look at no fucking all that prime shit. No, because if that's the case, if you so worried about your prime and you keep bringing up your prime, if that's what only matters, then you should retire after your prime, before your prime ends. I don't want to hear that shit. Once again, that's why when you look at certain fighters, like I watched the other night, I watched Leon Spinks and Ali too, right? And yeah, Ali did a better job in the second fight and he won the fight. And yeah, we all agree that should have been Ali's last fight. But what happens when you need money and that's all you know how to do? So he came back. The Holmes fight should have never happened, but it did. Then he fought Trevor Berbick. But that's why I said, well, when you look at their ages and look at how they struggled, but then you look at Floyd's age and look at how he was still super sharp. That's why people don't want to do the, whole career. They want to, in my prime, my bad. Stop, man. Stop. We could say Ali would have beat anybody in his prime. People would say Mike Tyson would have beat anybody in his prime. People would say Ray Leonard would have beat anybody in his prime. Like we could say that about any fight. It don't fucking matter. That's all fantasy shit. That's why when you look at what's in front of you, what is the reality? That's what bothers people, the reality. Because, like, for example, whenever somebody make a video, like you saw the video saying Floyd got scammed out of $400 million, and you had people saying some of the dumbest shit. One of the dumbest remarks I've ever seen was, Floyd's kind of broke is not like our kind of broke. Like, bro, there's no such thing as broke if you got Floyd's money. That you understand what I'm saying? Especially when it's like, bro, the money that you're making. Like, example, you sit up on a little chicken farm somewhere, playing with fucking roosters and shit and running around dirt roads, and this motherfucker still own fucking buildings, got his own businesses, still, then all of a sudden you see him go buy 4 new cars. Nah, I don't care about his money. I don't care about any of that type of shit from anybody. But the thing is, when y'all hear that he's broke, y'all hear this, and y'all start making videos about it, and then all of a sudden, he goes, I'm going to show y'all just how broke I am. Now, a broke motherfucker, he lost money, but somehow he ain't lose his home, he ain't lose none of his properties. The motherfucker go and show you, I'm going to go buy 4 new cars with my, with no money. I'm just going to write an IOU. Yeah, I still got this mansion. I still own all these properties, and I still got my own vape, all these dispensers, all this shit that he got my club. But so when y'all hear this shit, and then everybody make videos about it, right? Can you say that Floyd is wrong for showing a video where he's on a yacht chilling, big ass yacht the size of a fucking building and shit? Can you say he's wrong for that? But it's okay for somebody to make videos crossing their fingers, hoping for the demise of someone. But he's showing you, yeah, this is exactly how broke I am. I'm going to go buy 4 new cars that cost like, $3.5 million a piece. That's how broke I am. And this is what I'm saying. So what would you rather be? That's why, you know what's so funny to me? You ask anybody that says, oh, Pacquiao had a better career than Floyd. Now, Roy is a fucking hypocrite. Roy is a fucking lying hypocrite. And this is where it's gotten to. Roy Jones, you could even type in, Roy Jones says Floyd Mayweather or disagrees with Max Kellerman about Floyd or some shit. I remember Roy Jones said Floyd is better than Pacquiao. The guy that was talking, one of the interviewers said, Roy Jones, that Max Kellerman says that even though Floyd beat Pacquiao, Pacquiao is greater than Floyd. Roy said, that's stupid. That don't make no sense to me. How you gonna be greater than somebody that you can't beat? So now, when he turns around now, Roy said, oh, Pacquiao had a better career. Let me explain something to y'all. I don't give a fuck if you're Sean Porter, if you're Andre. I don't give a fuck who you are. If you're Roy Jones, whoever, Mike Tyson. Let me explain something to y'all. If you ask a motherfucker, whose career would you rather have? I guarantee you, them motherfuckers would say, Floyd's. Or they would try to find some stupid way just to put both of their foot in their mouth, because you rather be, oh, I'm an eight division champion, but I got like 7 fucking losses. I got all these fucking losses versus a motherfucker with a perfect 50-0. And I'm rich as fuck on top of that. These motherfuckers, Shane Mosley, him, Pacquiao, and Floyd didn't sit down and have no talk. There was no conversation, no business deals being worked out. Shane comes back, and fights this guy, gets humbled by this guy, Matt Floyd. Who the fuck is Matt Floyd? Walk around with his shirt off, pants sagging, talk about niggas this, niggas that, trying to posture like a little 16-year-old. And he's talking about he wants to fight against Manny Pacquiao. And then the winner between him and Manny Pacquiao fight Floyd in a rematch. Where is this shit coming from? This is like you making it sound like this is going to officially happen. Like Floyd is not even talking about y'all. I already kicked y'all ass and I'm living my life. You motherfuckers need boxing. I don't. So when he does exhibitions and all that, these motherfuckers coming back trying to copy. Remember how everybody was talking about how Floyd is tainting his legacy? Every single one of them are hypocrites. The only one who still ain't found the ball to come back is Oscar. Because Oscar one time was walking around talking about he's in fight shape, talking about he's going to come back and do an exhibition, and he didn't do it. Pacquiao said Floyd was tainting his career by doing exhibitions. Then this motherfucker starts doing exhibitions. Shane Mosley, all these motherfuckers that's talking, they're still coming back. Shane is 53 fucking years old. You sitting here complaining about your age then if you was too old at 38 after you said you're not too old for the fight game. Remember I showed y'all that video to bring it back so y'all, because these motherfuckers be lying. So at 53, somehow you turned the clock back. You can't even beat Matt Floyd. How the fuck you gonna beat Floyd Mayweather? They just want a payday. Roy Jones, same thing. Roy Jones can't sit here and talk about his career. All he can talk about is his highlights. He can talk about how he did things against mediocre ass opponents. And then when you look at the fact that all he did was fire a verbal shot back at Tarver. Why didn't he say, all right, Tarver, like you said to Roy, right? If you think you can beat me, then we can fight. Nobody gives a fuck about Roy Jones versus Tarver 4. You understand what I'm saying? They didn't give a fuck about that. So that ain't going to happen. So what am I going to do? Let me talk about the face of boxing. Ask Canelo, who is it that he want to fight more than anybody else? Floyd Mayweather. Right. Like Floyd said, just look at the numbers. Look at the videos. Y'all ain't talking about Muhammad Ali. Y'all ain't talking about Mike Tyson. Y'all keep talking about Floyd Mayweather. So it's obvious I'm still the face of boxing. Fighters that's still active, y'all comparing me to them. They making all these fake videos. Remember Terrence Crawford and Floyd goes back and forth, and all these they make this generation. Y'all don't even care if something is true or not. If the thought of it is entertaining to y'all, that's all y'all care about. Y'all don't even care that people feeding y'all lies, man. That's your fault. Antonio Tarver, like he said, man, what about me? What about my career? What about my amateur career? No, y'all didn't even look my way. And y'all making all these excuses for Roy as to why he lost, but no, I'm that guy. Okay, here's the deal. Is Antonio Tarver supposed to be a Roy Jones puppet? Now, he already said, without Roy Jones, there'll be no him. We know that. But Roy Jones can't just say the better man won. Like back in the day, like he said, y'all know whoever won the trilogy is the best. You know what I'm saying? Okay, then. And you going to turn around now with this I was depleted bullshit? Well, then you kept fighting. That's your problem. See how Nito Donaire came back at 38 years old and won a championship? Yeah. See how George Foreman fought all the way up, 45 years old. He wound up beating Michael Moore. See, Roy couldn't do that. So my thing is, to sit here and say you were a depleted fighter, then that means you're a fucking fool and don't care about your own safety and health. Because if you were a depleted fighter, why'd you fight so many years afterwards? For what? Then you had all those junk fights. And I said, when Roy Jones lost, I forget the dude's name, but if Roy Jones would have beat that fight, if he'd won that fight, Roy Jones would have fought Marco Huck. Marco Huck was the cruiserweight champion at the time. Marco Huck would have fucked Roy Jones up bad, man. And then the reason why he wouldn't have took a bad beating is because he can't take a punch. So the thing was, as soon as Marco clips him, he's gone. Marco Huck wound up fighting Usyk later, and Usyk beat him. And so yeah, Roy Jones failed. His attempts at cruiserweight was a failure, right? A complete failure. So now when you want to sit here talking about my prime, but now you talking about you can get down to 190 and fight Floyd, and that's fair because of the age difference. Nah, man, stop it, man, stop it. It shows you how foolish he is, because Floyd is 48. Roy is 56 or 58 now, 58 or whatever, 56, 57, whatever the fuck he is, and this motherfucker is sitting here talking like Floyd called him out. Nope, Floyd just sat here and watched you get knocked out. You the one doing all the talking. But you've yet to say, hey, James Toney, since you think you can beat me, you said if you would have gotten in shape, nobody would never hurt me again. Let's fight. Why not? He's your size. I think Floyd beats you anyway. But why didn't you say, all right, Tarver, since you saying everybody trying to make excuses as to why you beat me or whatever, you think you can beat? Okay, cool. Let's do it again. No, why? No, I'm going to find a 147 pounder and try to talk shit. I'm a fucking. What does Floyd walk around now? 150 something pounds. Okay, but my point is, nah, there's nobody else I can talk this shit to. And if the fight happens, that I got to worry about really getting knocked out by somebody who really has big power, that, yeah, he ain't gonna talk that shit. Well, he's not gonna talk that shit. That's what I'm saying. He's just trying to stay relevant so he can put his little bullshit motherfucker down there 60 still rapping about nothing. They into talking shit. I'm about starting shit. Right, Roy. That's what he's trying to do. Stay relevant. And how do I do that? Let me talk shit about Floyd. Nigga, you talk more about Floyd than you do your own fucking career, because you don't have much to talk about. That's the difference. You can sit here and talk to, hey, Ali fought Liston, Ali fought Frazier, he fought Noyd, he fought Foreman, man. You can sit here and he fought Floyd Patterson. Like, he got all these different people that he fought that he can, hey, you know what? Back in the day, like when he fought Archie Moore, man. Archie Moore was barking up Ali's tree, man. Ali said that old man wouldn't last but 3 rounds with me. Ain't the fight Ali wanted. Archie Moore's the one. They pushed it. They made it happen, right? But when he was winning, Archie Moore at an old age, nobody was talking about him being old, right? So when Ali beats him, we ain't going, he was old. But bottom line, this is what I'm saying. So fair is fair. You're going to be fair. Be fair all the time, not just with certain people. But yeah, you can sit here and talk about Floyd. Floyd could tell you, man, yeah, I beat Diego Corrales. I beat Zab Judah. I beat De La Hoya. I beat Shane. I beat Pacquiao. I beat Canelo. You know, I beat Jesse James. I beat Sean Bay Mitchell. I beat DeMarcus Corley. He could go through the fucking line. You understand what I'm saying? That's my point. Now, have that same conversation with Roy and bring up his opponents and see if y'all be sitting there scratching y'all fucking head like, who? Who the fuck is that? And even for us that know, that's my point. Best names on this motherfucker resume is Toney Hopkins. That's it. That's the only two guys that's Hall of Famers. Then you got bum ass Ruiz because of the accomplishment. A mediocre ass Virgil Hill. Virgil Hill was okay. He wasn't nothing special about old Virgil Hill. A 39-year-old Mike McCallum. You know, man. Vinny Pajians was a lightweight. Got his neck broken. Motherfucker went up there. He fought. Look at his resume. This is what I'm saying. You can't even talk about him having no classic fight. He had no classic fights. And the only fights that he had where it was like tough fights was the guy he lost to, which was Tarver. Everything else that was tough to him, he got beat. He was depleted. Well, your brain was depleted then. Your brain didn't think right because you should have fucking walked away, but you didn't. So Antonio Tarver, yeah, he said what he said. He sets the record straight on his side of things and the reality, the overall outcome of what happened in their fights. Stop it. That motherfucker the same age as Roy Jones, man. And like I said, when your experience don't kick in and you can't overcome the obstacle in front of you, you know, I want y'all to understand something about Leon Spinks. I know who the fuck Leon Spinks is. I did my homework on that motherfucker too. I know who the fuck Leon is. We know that Muhammad Ali was on his way out. He wasn't the same fighter, but he still was able to win the rematch. It's an accomplishment, okay? But y'all know, and let's be honest, I don't give a fuck who it was. That same, okay, let's say the same, okay, let's say if Lomachenko would have fought Floyd, like how he beat Gary Russell, only had 2 fights, on 2 pro fights, whatever. Let's say if he would have did that against Floyd, y'all would not let Floyd live that shit down. It don't matter how good Lomachenko is or whatever. It would have been the fact you lost to a motherfucker with 2 fights. So yeah, Ali losing to a guy with only 7 pro fights. When Marvin Frazier fought against Larry Holmes, he only had 10 pro fights. Joe Frazier said the reason he put Marvis in there is because, hey, man, you never know when you're going to get a chance like this again. So, fuck it. Why not? And that's why he put him in there, because Marvis got the shit beat out of him. He clearly wasn't ready for Ali. Okay, I mean, for Holmes. But Leon Spinks, the fact he only had 7 pro fights, and it's not like he had some extensive, you know, oh, this dude had so. No, he. Bottom line is, Ali at 34, and he lost to a guy with 7 pro fights. Floyd ain't lose to nobody, and Floyd stayed sharp and could still move and do everything all the way up to. He's still sharp now, is what I'm saying. So there's no comparison with these guys when you do a whole career. So all this cutoff shit, even if you tried to cut off at damn, look at where Floyd was too. So this is what I'm saying. It's not like they got any advantages over him. It's just that, okay, this was their best work and it stopped here. And then Floyd shit just kept going, and he stayed there and never came back down. That's the fucking problem with these salty old motherfuckers, man. They just bitter and they don't want to admit the truth. So Antonio Tarver, let's look at it. After he beat Roy the 3rd time, he lost his very first title defense against Glenn Johnson. He got it back. Then he lost to motherfucking Bernard Hopkins. And then 2, when you look at that shit, right? Roy Jones made a comment and said the difference between him and Tarver was he lost fat. Roy, I lost muscle. Yeah, Roy, we understand what you're saying, Roy, but it's bullshit. It don't fucking matter. You talk about losing fat, losing muscle, but y'all both gave the same excuse. Doesn't fucking matter. You still didn't lose 25. It was 18. But even still, that didn't affect, and unlike you, Tarver didn't use no, oh, I was depleted when I fought against Chad Dawson and any other fight after that. No. So that one fight with Hopkins, let's say, whatever, it don't matter. You took the fight, what happened, and guess what? If you didn't know and you learned in the fight that, or you feel like that's what it was, or if a doctor told you that, not you just trying to assess some shit, so what? You don't hear Tarver talk about, no, I was depleted after that. I was done after that because I lost 25 pounds. Oh, no. It was the fact that he just got beat by guys, whether it was him slipping age-wise or whatever it may have been. The thing with you is you want to use the fucking I was depleted as an excuse because you don't want nobody to think that you just got beat by guys that were just better. So with all that flashing, flare, hand speed, slapping your shoes, shaking your head, putting your hands behind your back, yeah, you did that against the Glenn Kellys and all of these fighters that wasn't worth a shit. You want to be seen as that guy. Nobody was better than me. I don't want a person to even think somebody was better than me. Gives a fuck what you think, man. You got beat. That's all. You got beat. How the fuck you go from saying you would have always had problems with Tarver no matter what because he's tall, he's a southpaw, to you was depleted. And pretty much in your prime, he couldn't have did nothing with you. Now you change your story, of course. Of course. But it's all good, Roy. It's all good. We've seen you get stretched several times. And the fact of the matter is, you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. And I don't give a fuck what you say. All that bullshit, 18 pounds, let's say it right, not 25, but 18 pounds that you lost, Roy, ain't had nothing to do with the fact you got a weak chin. It ain't had nothing to do with the fact that your boxing IQ, hey, even Stephen A. Smith told you that you never had the boxing fundamentals that Floyd had. You had the athleticism, power, speed, and stuff, but you never had the overall, boxing, the skills, those fundamental skills. And you know what's so funny? Because all of us agreed to that shit. But it's funny how now in 2025, all of a sudden, Roy Jones tells you a different story about his career and who he was and what he was. And now all of a sudden, Roy was unbeatable. Really? Was he? Was he? But it's okay. It's okay. All I'm saying is, when we're going to sit up here and make lies up, and we're going to sit here and start, giving these false narratives and then telling people that, things that happened didn't happen or things happened in ways where it's exaggerated, you're going to sit up and talk about a career, man. Like I said, all you got to do, look at who he fought. That's all. See how, for example, when we was talking about Terrence Crawford, it wasn't to discredit him. It was just being real. Yeah, he became undisputed at different weight classes, 2 different weight classes, and all that. Okay, cool. But look at who he fought. Let's look at who these guys was. Now, the eye test shows us that Crawford's a solid fighter, but at the same fucking time, look at who he fought. And plain and simple. And so when I say the most accomplished guy on his whole resume was his easiest fight, and that was against Errol Spence. Y'all don't want to hear nothing about Errol Spence telling y'all that he was weight drained. But somehow y'all want to fucking go with this bullshit narrative that Roy Jones is telling y'all that he was depleted because he lost 25 pounds, which was 18. Say it again, not 25, 18. But bottom line, that's the shit y'all want to go with. What y'all say about Spence? Well, he should have took the fight. Okay, so why the fuck don't the same thing apply to Roy Jones? It's simple. Because you could have easily said, nah, it's too soon. We going to fight, but it's too soon, if that's the case. Because after the first fight, which I believe that's the only time it was affected, even in the third fight, you could see Roy Jones was able to make that 12 rounds. It wasn't no thing. It was just that, he was getting his ass kicked. But bottom line, and if you watch Antonio Tarver fight, Antonio is a boxer. He's not aggressive. He has times where he'll turn up and, throw a flurry or whatever, but he's not an aggressive fighter. Why did Roy Jones have so much trouble with Antonio Tarver? Why? Why? He was depleted. Explain how you was depleted, Roy. 25 pounds of muscle, what, took your legs away? It reduced your boxing IQ, your ring awareness, your timing, your reflexes. That's what 25 pounds of losing, that's what it did, Roy? I mean, excuse me, your 18 pounds of muscle loss, that's what it did? Stop, man. Stop. So yeah, you lost. you lost at 36. You know, and you lost again against Glenn Johnson, and you got your ass kicked by a bunch of nobodies, and you managed to squeeze a win in against a fucking bloated, just out of retirement Trinidad, Jeff Lacey. Those are the two names, because that Prince, Jamu Badi, whatever his name is, you know, he had you hurt in the first round of y'all fight, and you ran all night long, so your legs were still there, Roy. See, that's what I'm saying. You watch that. I watched that fight. You go back and watch, you'll see his legs were still there. His legs were still there. But Roy Jones, let him tell it. Nope, I was done after that because of a weight loss. Nah. After you got knocked the fuck out, your confidence was never the same again. So even though you fought Tarver again, you still didn't have the same confidence. And even in that fight, they're saying Roy Jones is showing no urgency. He's not trying to win this fight. He's just here. It's like he's not doing anything to take over. So when you made that excuse about you didn't want your dad to take the credit for you winning after losing and the relationship y'all had, you know, and all that. Remember he made that comment about how his father killed one of his animals or something? And then he's like, if he did it again, he's going to kill his father and all that shit. Yeah. And all that, yeah, I ain't supposed to want to kill nobody. It's a sport, it's boxing, you know. You're supposed to want to kill nobody. You're supposed to, you know, you come here to compete. That was before the Glenn Johnson fight. Then he got knocked out again. So he made every excuse as to why he lost. I don't know what these guys got to beat me with. I can't get up for these guys. And I remember one time Andre Ward, he threw a fucking subliminal message to fucking Roy. See, Roy full of shit because he was addressing Roy Jones, had just made that comment. And he made it a couple of times about how he can't get up for guys he don't know. And I remember Andre Ward said, I never understood that. I don't even respect that. Like, I can't get up for these guys. You train for every opponent the same way, man. Like, in terms of, like, you know, being ready and focused. I mean, I agree with that shit. He was talking about Roy. So all that's his idol and all. Okay, cool, whatever. That's all good. But bottom line, yeah, he did all of this talking, and now you see, like I said, somebody else has come out in James Toney and called Muhammad Ali trash, and this motherfucker didn't challenge him, you know, Antonio Tarver not gonna sit back and let motherfuckers take his victory away. They wanna tarnish his victory. And Roy Jones is full of shit. He's an old, bitter hater, man. That's all it is. And the fact is, no matter how much shit he talk about Floyd, he know that you always can watch him get knocked out, but not Floyd. You always can watch him get L's, but not Floyd. And the fact of the matter is, all the videos about Floyd going broke and this and that and all that, and Floyd ain't got no money, right? And then all of a sudden, Floyd just show y'all can believe that shit if y'all want. I'm good. While you sitting up on the damn chicken farm. So I'm just saying, let's be real. Let's be real. If you going to tell some shit, tell the truth, man. If you going to speak about something, speak about it the way it actually happened. All of this talking about, and you're proud you could beat anybody. Anybody can make that claim, Roy. And here's my thing. If you was that confident in yourself that you could have beat anybody, then you want to know what? And I agree. I'm not going to change my stance on it. I agree. If that them trying to make you go to Russia to fight Mikoshevsky when you was a champion, right? I agree that for you to take a stand and say, nah, why I got to go over there and fight him on his terms? You know what I'm saying? Like, because you was worried that they would probably rob you again. You know what I'm saying? I get that. But if you are as great as you say, you claim to be and all that, then you would have went over there and beat him on this, on like how Clarissa Shields went over there and beat Savannah Marshall on her turf. Exactly. That's what you would have did. That's what you would have fucking did. You wouldn't have, You wouldn't have fucking worried about no motherfucking robbery. I'm Roy Jones. I'm gonna beat the shit out of this dude. Nah, but you was worried about if I don't knock him out, they might rob me. That's what you said. That's what you said. You know what happened with Hopkins, right? When he took the Puerto Rican flag and threw it down, and he was fighting Trinidad, and yeah, all that shit that went down. You know, it's what I'm telling you. You go into hostile environments. You go into other people's countries and you beat them. Other people have done it. You didn't have the confidence that you could, but now that it's all over and going forward, you take your little highlight reels against your little fucking mediocre opponents, and all of a sudden now Roy Jones is, oh, yo, this motherfucker, I'd have did this and I'd have did that, and I would have did this, and in my prime, no, all right, but in your prime, you didn't fight these dudes, and every time you went up in weight, and you look at who's who, bro, stop it, man. Like, I remember, and like I said, no matter who Roy fought, I was always rooting for Roy. But even in those days, I was like, yo, he's fighting these dudes that's here, but, I mean, they're not that good, but at least he's winning. I remember telling one of my uncles that, because one of my uncles was like, man, he ain't fighting nobody. And I said, true, but at least he's winning. You know, because we knew who was there. But why these fights didn't happen, we don't know. Two people both say they want to fight, but the fight ain't happening because of him. Nah, it's not me, it's him. Do you really care to keep digging into this shit like Inspector Gadget? Nah. But when we get the truth, we going to speak on the truth. Real simple. So Roy Jones, trying to discredit Tarver. He beat a depleted guy. You know, oh, when I fought Hopkins the first time, I hurt my hand. So wait, you mean to tell me you were so depleted that you couldn't even beat a 46-year-old Bernard Hopkins? A 44-year-old Bernard Hopkins at the time. You couldn't beat him? That's how depleted you were, and you continued to fight all them years. So were you broke, or your ego that massive, or how'd you learn to fight? But you the same guy that said it don't make no sense for Anthony Joshua to rematch anybody that he just lost to if he's not better. I said that shit before I heard you say it. Then when I heard you say it, I agree with it. Why you don't take the same advice for yourself? Because you didn't get any better. You know, you did what you did. Your career is what it is. Anthony Joshua, the same thing. What's so different about you? Then you got mad. Remember, he got mad because Anthony Joshua didn't want Roy to train him? Roy Jones is the worst kind of trainer for Anthony Joshua, stylistically. Because, let me explain something to you, man. They fight completely different styles. And Anthony Joshua works off of his jab. Roy Jones don't. Roy Jones is that leading with that leaping left hook. As far as Roy Jones training him to fight, come on, stop. Stop. I'm not saying there can't be some kind of pointers or something that you can, but was it necessary? No. He felt offended. Why? Because they didn't even respond to him. So what? And nobody that Roy Jones is training right now is no superstar on top of the fucking boxing world. They all just some up-and-coming dudes that he talked big about, that they go in and they lose. Or nobody really cares about them. And then they all sever ties with Roy Jones. All these fighters he's had, they all sever ties with him at some point. His style, you don't teach in the gym. So for him to train somebody and really like be effective with, they're gonna have to have the same type of, you know, the reflexes, the hand speed, the understanding of what, you know, his style is. That shit that he's doing, he's gonna get people knocked the fuck out. So Roy Jones, you know, didn't get responded to. Well, you know, hey, so what? He had a problem with fucking, you know, Errol Spence at one point. Always, you know, being so outspoken about who's who and who didn't do what and how. Everything. And the funny thing is, if you look at Roy Jones' career, there's a whole lot of shit Roy Jones didn't do. Other than just, oh, he had some flashiness in the ring against mediocre guys. Roy was a bad motherfucker in that ring. But once again, big fish in a little pond. That's how his career is if you look at who he fought. Look at the pool of fighters he fought, big fish in a little pond. That's what he was. And it is that. And the fact that he's trying to not give Antonio Tarver credit for winning and then going to turn around and say the shit that he said, you know, things like, hey, man, it's the trilogy. Everybody know who in the trilogy going to be the best fighter. Remember how he was in that camera after he got knocked out by Tarver? And he said, when he about to fight Glenn Johnson, he like, that ain't, by the way, that ain't happening no more. Remember that shit? Then he got knocked the fuck out again. And this is one of the reasons why people had an issue with Roy Jones, because he's arrogant as fuck. He's just arrogant. And I didn't let that shit bother me, you know, but it's like I said, he's a very arrogant motherfucker. He talk like he doesn't understand, like, how you see yourself. Okay, cool. But when you start trying to shit on other people, think about it. Now, it's funny. He's shitting on people that he beat. So if all Antonio Tarver did was beat you, and I told y'all that a long time ago that Tarver ain't really do shit his whole career. That's the only fight they talk about with him, right? It wasn't the shit on Tarver, it was to tell the truth. But his career, no matter what he did or didn't do, it was all defined by him fighting and beating Roy. Without Roy, people like Antonio who? Oh, Antonio Vargas from the dude, the pimp dude. Nah, man. Nah. Antonio Tarver. So we already established that. But Roy Jones just admits, that's all I'm saying. He never talks about Tarver for that reason. He knows Tarver didn't really do shit, but he beat you. He never talks about him. He don't bring up the fact that he beat Mike McCallum. You know, we know he stopped Virgil Hill with a body shot. But again, Virgil Hill was just an average motherfucker. That's all, nothing special about no Virgil Hill. You know, and look, the same way, you don't hear me making excuses about Thomas Hearns, saying, yeah, but Thomas Hearns, he wasn't really a light heavyweight. So what? Your body's grown. And guess what? Everybody, it's not like there's some rule that everybody has the same limitations or abilities. Some people can go way up in weight and fight and still be effective, and others can't. The thing with Thomas Hearns was, yeah, his knockout ratio wasn't the same. It was harder for him to knock out the bigger guys than it was for the smaller guys because, you know, his power at some point is like, okay, even though physically we're the same size now, his power was not like his punching power was anything special. They done been hit by guys that hit harder. You understand what I'm saying? Things of that nature. But yeah, man. And let's be real. The cruiserweight division was never popping at no point in time ever in history of the cruiserweight division being in boxing. When you had Vasily Zhirov, when you had Orlin Norris and James Toney at the same time, that was like the big three at the time. And boxing it's just been like that. Like right now, when you look at who's at the cruiserweight division, they only talk about one guy, and that's Jao Opetaia. They don't talk about nobody else, just him. You know, but yeah, my thing is, wasn't nobody making no excuses about that. I mean, Roberto Duran came all the way from fucking lightweight. You know, even Chris Berg went all the way up to heavyweight. When Chris Berg came back down to light heavyweight. Him saying, after getting hit by a heavyweight, when I get hit by a light heavyweight, it's nothing. I said, nah, that's bullshit. Because all you got to do is get hit right. And see, that's that bullshit theory shit, man. That's why my mind was always different from these motherfuckers. And Chris Berg came back down, and his very first fight, I think he retired after that fight. He came down and he got destroyed. Got beat the fuck up, got dropped, got his nose bloodied up and everything against a light heavyweight. And this is what I'm saying. I'm like, nah, see, y'all tripping with that theoretical bullshit. You was getting knocked out by heavyweights. You're gonna get knocked out by light heavyweights. And the reason why it's gonna be easier for you to get knocked out is because these light heavyweights are much faster than the heavyweights. And you're slowing down. So going back down to light heavyweight is not going to make you any more faster. Your legs are gone. You're more stationary now. Your reflexes are the same, and you're there to be hit. And that's exactly what happened. Now, what I'm saying, losing the weight ain't had shit to do with nothing, fat or muscle. It was just the simple fact that Chris Berg got his ass whooped coming back down to light heavyweight. It was just time to retire. So about 5-6 years ago, Chris Berg was making videos, flexing and talking about making a comeback and all that bullshit. And I'm like, here we go again, man. Everybody want to start this Legends comeback bullshit. It's not for everybody, y'all. It's not for everybody. Everybody can't do it. Just because you can get abs and get tight and sit there and flex and hit a speed bag and all that, and the people put quotes up there saying, Chris Berg still got it. Still got what? He's not fighting a speed bag in the ring. He's fighting an opponent. Okay, a speed bag ain't never knocked nobody out. Not that I know of. All right? Opponents do. So, yeah, man, I just wanted to make this shit clear. And I wanted you guys to understand. You see this whole shit that Roy was talking about, just think about it. If Antonio Tarver would have got knocked out by Roy, we wouldn't have heard nothing about no 25 pounds of muscle, would we? Yeah, even though it was 18. I keep saying it. It's like Day-Day. On them 20s. You know what I'm saying? Got them 20s when I went down there. Well, they ain't 20s, but they them 10s, but them 20s. Well, when they 10s, but they look good, though. Yeah, lying. Remember how Craig caught Day-Day in the lie and he kept saying his runs was 20s, but they was really 10s? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what Roy is doing. Talk about 25 pounds. No, it was 18, motherfucker. But not only that, you taking away the credit from your own opponents that beat you. But hey, it's like I said, you know, when you fought Vinny Pazienza, Vinny, even if he didn't get his neck broke, okay, even if he didn't get his neck broke, shouldn't have had no business in the ring with you. But the fact that he did have a broken neck, and then here you go talking shit and not giving fucking Errol Spence full credit after getting thrown out of a fucking car. You know what I'm saying? For the fights that he won, and he ain't come back and take tune-ups. He came back and jumped straight in there with the top dogs. And then you made excuses, but you wouldn't then fought a motherfucker that had a broken neck. That came up from lightweight. Seriously? But then gonna tell everybody how much of a dog Vinny was, and Vinny was aggressive, and Vinny was this, and Vinny was... Hey, stop. So, anyways... I just had to put this shit out here, man, because I'm like, damn, every time I turn around, this motherfucker's still making videos about Floyd, man. He ain't talking about his own career. He just talking about Floyd. And that's the thing that Roy know he can't do. He can, all these names, I tell you what, you look at Hall of Fame fighters and look at who Roy beat and look at how many of them motherfuckers in there. It's only James Toney and Bernard Hopkins. That's it. Nobody else. Not Mike McCallum. Mike McCallum was a good fighter. But Mike McCallum, he never broke through. He fought James Toney. He knocked out Julian Jackson. You know, he was coming up fighting. He just mediocre guys back and forth after that. He had, like I said, he didn't do much. He didn't do much of shit. He's not a Hall of Fame fighter, man. You know, but my point is Roy Jones got 2 Hall of Famers on his fucking career. If we saying Hall of Famers, we're saying all-time great. We ain't all this categorizing and trying to be so technical, you know, because remember, Sylvester Stallone was in that mother. He's in the fucking Hall of Fame, and this motherfucker wasn't a boxer. And then somebody had the nerve to say his movies inspired boxing. No, motherfucker, boxing inspired his movies. The fuck are you talking about, man? Like sport, like boxing was inspired, like was created after his movie. No, who the fuck you think Apollo Creed was in the movie? He was mimicking Ali. Talking shit, brash, blah, 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 dancing around, floating like, who the fuck you think he got the idea from? Who the fuck do you think Rocky was playing? Rocky Marciano. That's the inspiration of the characters from Ali and Rocky Marciano. But anyways, yeah, this is you know, Roy going on these little Floyd Mayweather hate tours and shit, you know, trying to talk shit about what Floyd wasn't. He's not top 5. He's not this yet. This motherfucker himself only got 2 fucking names, and even the names that he got, other people done whooped their ass. Ain't nobody beat Floyd. And Floyd got opponents, many of his opponents, so many of them. Look at these motherfuckers that's Hall of Famers. You can't say the same thing. So not only are you not as accomplished as Floyd, but at the same fucking time, let's think about it. You did what you did against guys we don't even fucking know. And even for the guys that people do know of, once again, we didn't see them get their asses whooped. Longevity, everybody don't have the same ability. So that's why you want to make this cutoff. But even in your prime, who the fuck did you beat, Roy? Let's be real. Let's be real. So if you're going to try to assassinate Floyd's fucking resume, then your resume ain't even in the ballpark. Let's be real. Real shit. Talk to me in the comment section, y'all. Never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people, and I will catch y'all on the next video.